everyone, and welcome back to another Coach Dave Academy lap guide on iRacing. My name is Bart, and today I'll be taking us for a lap of Monza in the iRacing Formula iR-04. Here's the hot lap. Okay, so here we are heading down the main straight at Monza. You can cut across the inside apron here. So I've still got my tyres on the white line just to shorten the distance at the last corner. Now just keeping the wheels straight as we go towards turn 1, and we should find ourselves back over to the left-hand side of the track. Okay, so braking for the first chicane. You got the 100-meter board here and also the blue cone where the end of the pit lane exit is as references on both sides. So pretty easy to judge braking here. Just for the 100-meter board is a good place. I'd say when you're really pushing, you do want to be probably slightly on the early side in this car. You can brake a bit later, but then you end up really damaging your exit, and the exit out of here is super, super important for that time. So maybe starting around the 150-meter board and then building up towards something like 110 meters or so, like we do here. Okay, so hard, consistent brake, holding the brake pressure down to second gear. You can use this little bit of green on the entry as well if you want. Generally, I just like to keep it straight in the braking zone, so not really doing it here on this lap. So the key for the chicane, I would say, it's all about the exit here. So with that in mind, it's the angle you can get to help open up the left-hand part of the chicane. So good ways of doing that are using all the track here on the right-hand side. This is pretty much the limit of what's allowed on iRacing. So you can see our left wheels are still on the white line. If you cut with all your tyres onto the curbing, you will get a slowdown penalty. So be careful of that. It's not just an off-track. So it can be quite harsh there as well with all that time you lose. We don't want to turn in too early. Also keeping the angle we're going to have on the exit here in mind. So make sure you're not turning out of the off the brakes too early here. So holding the brakes, pushing the braking in a straight line pretty deep, and turning in should open up this left-hander. So you can see I'm still steering right as I go over and actually exit the right curb. And my right wheels are pretty much on this line of the track on the right-hand side here. So for the second part, of the chicane. This is where it's a bit unique, I find, this car. So it's second gear, not first, all the way through. Helps with the traction, helps carry speed. Also, you can see I just have a little pick up of the throttle here. If you don't pick up the throttle, you'll probably turn, hit the inside curb, or just be too slow for this part of the corner. So the key is off the brakes. You see we're coasting here. Then a little bit of throttle pickup as you come off the curb and you're turning right. Not much. And then you should just have the lift a little bit as you go through the left-hander. You can run this left sausage curb. You don't really want to take any more of it than this because it will throw the car off and it does then hurt your exit. So ideally trying to avoid that. And then very aggressive throttle pickup. Just remember the key with this is getting the steering lock off. If you can't get the steering lock off, you're not going to be able to get to full throttle. There's no point really just going to understeer and scrub the tires or maybe go into the gravel trap. So as soon as you feel like you can get the steering lock off, go to full throttle. Using all the track on the exit, you can even you can see my right-hand tires are leaning into the gravel. The car doesn't really lose too much time if you just had them kind of dipping into the gravel there. So make sure we really use all the exit. Super important exit there. Now, keep the car straight and just shorten the distance through this long right-hander here as you come towards the second chicane. Keeping the car on the white line. And braking for the second chicane just before the 100-meter board. You've also got this service road and a bridge as well, so pretty good again to get your references while you're braking. The only thing I would say about this chicane versus the first one is it's a bit easier to overpush the entry. I think just because you can't see the corner as early or as well as you can into the first corner. But yeah, braking just at the 100-meter board. Very similar to the first corner. Heavy braking, almost 100% brake pressure. Maintain that brake pressure for a long time. Down to third gear though instead of second. We're going to carry more speed through this one. And about halfway along this right-hand curve, you're going to be coming off the brakes and turning in. I'd say main point here, we definitely want to try and carry quite a bit of speed, get really good rotation off the brakes. And in terms of the track usage here, this is pretty on the edge. You can run, I feel like you can run a bit over the white line here. Ooh. You can run just over the white line on the inside curb and be legal. So the track limits are a little bit more lenient here, I think, than the first chicane. However, if you do cut it too much, once again, you'll get a very, very aggressive slowdown penalty, so please be aware of that. This curb is also quite flat. Well, you got this mound, but in terms of there's no real oscillations in the curb. It's high, but in terms of it's quite smooth. So you're not really going to get thrown around any weird way. It's just going to pick the car up all in one motion. So it can be quite aggressive on this curb. In third gear, as you come off the curb, picking up some throttle between the two parts of the corner, and you ideally want to be pretty much full throttle as you're going through the right-hander here, just as you come off this curb. You will need to hit some of this right-hand curb to be able to take good speed through the previous left as well, and just to get the rotation as well. It can help turn the car right. So you can see on this, this is pretty much the limit of how much curb you want to take in this car. And they'll force you out to the left-hand side. And similar to the first corner, you can be really aggressive on the exit here. Okay, so into the Lesmos. Down just one gear here into fourth. And the first Lesmo is quite tricky because you can't really see much of the corner on the entry. So it's blocked by this inside barrier. It's a corner where I always focus on just having a really soft brake and getting in early because it's quite cambered, getting into the camber early. So soft brake, really short brake, just help turn the car down one gear, meeting the inside curb and then pick up the throttle quite aggressively, using the camber to hook the car around. Then you can run out to this, as long as you have a wheel on this white line on the exit of the curb, little bit weird, this track limit. But just keep that in mind. And then making sure we've got the car prepared for this second Lesmo, because it's, once again, quite an important exit on this track. Braking around this 50-meter board is a good reference. But very similar technique to the previous Lesmo. The only thing I'd say is here we focus a bit more on the exit. So rather than carrying speed and using the camber, this one's more about an early throttle pickup just to have a really, really good exit. And if you do push the entry here and you brake a bit late, the car's going to be a bit unsettled. So once again, quite a soft brake, a little bit heavier than the previous corner, but still not braking for very long. Down one gear, back to fourth again. No problems at all running this inside curb. I find it helps turn the car, especially when you're on throttle. This car is quite difficult to turn, so curbs are quite useful when you're already on the throttle. You can see almost full throttle when I'm at the apex curb here. And that's what I mean by just focus on the exit here, So we want that early throttle pickup, early rotation, and good exit down the straight. And once again, the track limit here is running out, so we've got our tyres still touching the white line on the outside edge of the curb. And getting back over to the track before we reach the end of this curbing. If you hang out here too long, you will get off track, so keep that in mind. So once again, just shortening the distance, keeping the car straight, stay on the left-hand side of the track, and then keeping the wheels straight, and just slowly making your way over to the right-hand side of the track before Ascari. So braking for Ascari, it's quite tricky. I always think more, it's a bit difficult, this one, because the braking technique is much more like a heavy braking zone, like the two chicanes, than the Lesmos, even though we're going to quite a high-speed corner. So you have to be very aggressive on the brakes, hitting high pressure, down 2 gears, down to 4th gear. However, you need to bleed off a lot faster than you would into one of the slow corners. So keep that in mind. So it's somewhere between the techniques for the faster corners and the slower corners in this car. You can also use this curbing a little bit as well. You can see I'm leaning on this entry curbing, which I would recommend. So keys for Ascari, I'd say it's really, really important here. It all starts with the track usage on the left. You have to be super precise, and this is where I find the corner is really tricky, because you have that heavy braking coming from such a high speed into still quite a high medium speed corner. It's quite tricky to be accurate, especially in this car. So making sure we're getting as much of the car over the curb as possible without hitting the sausage curb. You can see here, my left wheel's just missing the sausage curbs on the left-hand side. And this is the key to a good Ascari and a good exit before Parabolica every single time. You've got to get the car over this curbing without hitting the sausage curbs. If you don't take enough curb, you'll run wide, and if you take too much curb, you'll be bounced and thrown wide, potentially to the gravel. So really important to be consistent here with hitting the inside curb, but not hitting the sausage curbs. If you feel like you want to slow the car down like slightly on the early side, so you can pick up a little bit of throttle as we go through the curbing here. I think once again, it's a good example of once you've got onto that left curb, it will turn the car, will hook the car up, and you can pick up the throttle as soon as you get onto that curbing, just a little bit here. And then as we come off it more aggressively onto the throttle, make sure you don't end up any further right than this. You can run the car, say, half a car width to the right and not get off track here. However, you'll make the next next section kind of too tight for yourself, and technically sometimes you can still take it flat, but you'll be taking more curb and you'll be scrubbing the tires a lot, and it really affects your exits. Make sure you're not over pushing the exit here and you find you have all this steering lock on, because it really slows down the exit for this car. Okay, so running out, so we've got our right tires on this curb. That's exactly where we want to be here, and then we can just kind of smoothly turn into the right-hander. Get as close as possible once again to the sausage curbs on the right-hand side with this curbing. Should be flat out now if you've done the preparation correctly. And then just taking a bit of left curb here. You can take the sausage curb and not get an off track or a slow down, and still be quite quick, but it does affect your exit just with the car being so low. It kind of bounces a little bit and it affects your exit. So just keep in mind, if you're again, forced out kind of too wide here to the right and then too far to the left here and have to take the sausage curb, you'll probably end up wider, more steering lock bouncing, and it kind of hurts that exit momentum. So if you can be smooth like this, but still carrying a lot of speed, that's kind of the right balance you want to get there. And then just letting the car out here, you won't get off track on this, the exit of Ascari, so you can use all the AstroTurf pretty much. And just keeping the car straight for a little while on the right-hand side of the track, just to, once again, keep the momentum up. Then slowly making our way over to the left-hand side of the track, getting it parallel with the white line. Now, Parabolica, I would say, is a corner I constantly over-push the entry, and super easy to do. If you if you just get really aggressive on the brakes and really chase the time on the entry, I think I'm going to carry all the speed into this high-speed corner. Sure enough, you end up kind of losing the car or fighting the car or hurting your exit. So it's important here just to brake, I'd say, slightly on the early side of what you think's possible. This 50-meter board or the end of this green AstroTurf on the left-hand side is your best references for where to brake. Pretty much, you can see I'm braking right on that, the end of that green. And really important here that we use the inside curbing as well, and we're not meeting it too early. So if you look at the inside this corner and you aim for here, you're going to be reaching inside the track too early. You're then probably going to be running wider into the corner or picking up throttle too early, something like that. It's not going to go so well for you. So make sure you're looking around the curbing here and we're not turning in too early. Turning in from a wide angle, still carrying quite a bit of speed, but like I said, the car shouldn't feel massive, like super on the limit here on the entry. I find usually that means you've pushed it too much. So very similar technique to Ascari as well. The brakes, hard hit of the brakes down to fourth gear, and then quite a quick bleed off, and then just trailing the last little bit of the brake just to help turn the car. Getting over the inside curb here will help hook the car up, and that kind of gives you permission to pick up the throttle, very similar to Ascari once again. You can see, as soon as I'm on that curb, it's kind of turning me around the corner. And this is why you don't want to meet it too early, because if you meet it too early, you won't be able to pick up the throttle and hook it round all the way through the corner. So that's why it's important we meet the curb a little bit later on after this viewing platform on the right here. The marshals are. After you come off the curb, just be really smooth with the steering. You can see after I pick up the throttle, I'm not putting on any more steering lock. So I had the most steering lock in the corner now. I just let a little bit out here, but I'm pretty much trying to maintain the same steering. If you put more steering on, that's when you're really going to hurt the exit in this car. And the car should gently run out to the white line. If you find that you have to put more steering on, that probably means you pick up the throttle too early or you've carried too much speed, and it'll really hurt your exit. And the other thing as well is you should be able to bring the car nicely back over to the right-hand side of the track here on the exit to shorten the distance to the line, as we do here. And it's worth quite a bit at Monza, so keep that in mind. And then you cross the line, making sure you're using the inside apron, and that takes us to the end of the lap at Monza. So that takes us to the end of the lap guide video today. If you enjoyed the video, please let us know in the comments below. Same as if you have any questions. You can also check out the Coach Dave Academy Discord in the video description. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next lap guide video. See you.